Good morning. We'll show you today how to run the ActiView software on an iPad. We've already done that in the past, running it on an iPhone and on iPad, but using Parallels and Windows. This morning we will show you that it's all possible also if you have a Mac or if you have a MacBook Pro like I have in this particular example. We'll show you how to run everything off the iPad, which is absolutely fantastic. The whole functionality is there. We can use the iPad to run a complete EEG. We can save the EEG, we can do anything on the iPad, which is absolutely phenomenal. We don't believe that any other supplier can do this on the planet, which is really neat. The app, we've discussed this before, using an iPhone in that particular example, doesn't cost the world. We need Parallels, that's all we need, and then we can actually mirror the desktop on an iMac or on a MacBook Pro on the iPad. So Philip will come closer with the camera so we can actually see how to maneuver through the software to run all these things on an iPad. As I explained before, we will run now the Active 2 on an iPad, which is absolutely phenomenal. First thing we need to do is we need to start, or we need to launch Parallels. And Parallels, as soon as Parallels launches, it actually asks to install virtual machines. We don't need to do that. All we need to do is start the actual app, because that app will connect any iPad or an iPhone on the same network to the actual MacBook Pro or iMac for the lab. So what we do is we've started the virtual machine. We can put this down so we don't have to look at it. Also what we need to do is we need to get rid of the dock, because the dock just stands in the way of our wonderful Active 2 software. So we get rid of the dock so we don't see anything. Now we see the desktop on the iMac or on a MacBook Pro, such as this now. What we need to then do is we go to iPad, which can be in a totally different location, running across the same network. That's very important. So we click on Parallels. As soon as we do, we can log in and everything. I've already done that. So what we need to do is we connect to the MacBook Pro that's listed on our virtual machines. So we just connect there, and we can see the desktop running on the Mac, running on a MacBook Pro, anywhere else on the same network in another lab or in another room. It's really neat. But the great thing is now we can double click on Active 2. We can see simultaneously it builds up all the software on the iMac. We can double click on the Active 2 for Mac. We can see runs all at the same time. At this point in time I will switch on the Active 2. Okay, so now we can see everything wonderfully running on the actual iPad, which is absolutely fantastic. So we'll go to About ActiView, and we can see we have full functionality. We load a config file. We could have many config files. At this point in time we only have the default config file that's supplied with the software. We click on it, we say open, and remember, we can do all these things in a complete different environment. We do not need to sit next to the computer or next to the Mac. We can just do it all from the iPad. So we go to monopolar display, we hit the start button, and as you can see we get the waveforms running nicely across the screen. Obviously all the electrodes are hanging in the air, that's why it looks a bit fishy. So we go to offsets. We can see all the offsets being all high because the electrodes are not connected. We can go to bipolar leads. We can go to monopolar display. We can go to auxiliary sensors. We can go back to monopolar display. We can hit the sensitivity button. We can go to 50 millivolts. And now you can see all the traces, 64 traces running on the screen. We can change the reference. We can go to no reference at all, which then triggers the purple light to blink, because that's not a really good reference, the CMS. So we hit the button average of display, and it looks just exactly like on any iMac or on a PC even, but running it on an iPad. Now that's a wonderful, wonderful feature, and I'm sure a lot of people have iPads A lot of people want to use iPads with a Mac, and it is possible. It requires parallels, that's all it does. Same for Windows. You need parallels to run it on a Windows environment, but as you can see, the setup is so simple, so smart, and the software fills the whole screen. There's no need to toggle up and down, left and right, or zoom in, or do anything like this. In fact, we can, as you can see this, which is really neat, we can actually zoom on the iPad, which is cute. So if you want to see some details, we can do. If we have fingers like I have, we can too, because then the buttons are a bit bigger, so we can toggle easier to the next button itself. So that's all very, very nice. So we have complete functionality, including zooming in, zooming out on an iPad, obviously not on an iMac or on a MacBook Pro at the moment, because there is no touchscreen. But on the iPad, it's all very beautifully. We can zoom in, we can check all the things in complete detail, and that's, I think, a very, 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 very powerful and very beautiful feature that we can run. The ActiveView is made in the house of BioSemi in Holland. Here at NEUROSPEC, we've made this movie to show people who are interested to run it on an iPad, and also to make sure that people understand, the community understands, that this software is now downloadable for Mac, and so many people use Mac, and I think that's just great. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've been equally intrigued by using all these possible features that we can offer you today. So have a great day and see you next time. Goodbye.